Netizens, back with me again, Jika Utama Putrada. This is our course, Parallel and Distributed Systems. We are discussing about our fourth meeting, which is inter-process communication. In the fourth video, we will discuss about socket. Let's start our video. So, if in the last video we discussed about IPC, now we are discussing about socket. What is socket? Socket is the physical presence of an IPC. So, we have discussed what inter-process communication is, and now we are discussing about socket. Here, in the last video, we have discussed that the square is the computer and the oval is the process, and this is the socket, which is a capsule shape. And the bumps here are the port, and the port is a number, which we have discussed. The port is a number. Now, for example, this client or the sender, let's call it the sender because client usually gets an answer, wants to send to the receiver. When a sender wants to send to the receiver, usually it needs something called an address. Also, it needs data. So when you send something, you need a package and you need an address. And in an address, you need two things. First is you need the IP address. No, the IP identifies the computer, this one. And you need the port. So the port number identifies the process, which is this one. And why does it need to be an agreed port? Because we need the port to be known, a well-known port. So the port needs to be agreed, and defining an agreed port is called binding. So if you are asked what is the difference between a sender and a receiver, the receiver needs to do binding. And instead, the sender doesn't need to be do binding because it can use any port. So what happens now? The sender sends a message. It sends a message using the IP address and the port, and the message is received. Now, when the sender sends a message, it also sends its own IP number and its own port. Why? Because when the receiver wants to reply the message, it knows where to reply. Where it replies to the sender's port and the sender's IP address. So, repeating what we have discussed earlier, socket has two types. There are two types of socket, which is the same as two types of transport layers. There's the UDP and there's the TCP. And like I said earlier, UDP is fast but unreliable. And the TCP is slow but reliable. How does the TCP become reliable? It forms a connection. That is why TCP is usually called connection oriented. And why UDP is unreliable? Because it is connectionless. So it doesn't need to form a connection. It only sends and receives data blindly. and that will differentiate the socket of UDP and TCP. So that is the end of our fourth video. In this video we have discussed about socket, and in the next video we will discuss about UDP socket. Thank you for your attention. Let's meet in the next video.